Friends, welcome back to the Autry Benton Show. Sitting down with one of my friends today. He's an attorney, he's a husband, he's a father, and he's a House of Representatives for the area of Myrtle Beach. Case, glad to have you today, buddy.
Autry, pleasure to be here, bud.
Oh, man. So you're busy and everywhere, and life is always moving, right?
Life is always moving. That's very true. Very true. I know it's moving for you as well, too. So
it's good, though. Life is
always
good, buddy, man.
Life is good,
God
yes, sir.
gives us opportunity to live in the greatest country in the world. And
I agree.
the Grand Strand, Horry County, it's good, man.
Great state, great county, great spot.
Yes, sir. No other place I want to be.
No, same here.
You know, I want to kind of go back and tell us about the early years. Tell us about growing up, man.
Well, you know, growing up here in Myrtle Beach was a little different back then than it is now. The boulevard back then was thriving with lots of commotion. Not all necessarily bad. It was very more entertaining. Of course, the pavilion was there. I played a lot of sports. I went to Myrtle Beach primary, elementary, middle, high school. I did take a little semester off and went up to a boarding school for for a full semester, but half the year. Wasn't quite my jam. I'm a beach boy, so back here. But
was that your choice or somebody else's choice?
I recently had my studies and my mind drifted elsewhere about ninth grade.
I understand.
And you know that time period of your life where a lot of things are changing.
Yeah.
And so just need a little bit of refocus. It was Christ School up in Arden, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Really, it was a great school. Had a great time there while I was there, made some good friends. But, you know, South Carolina, the beach, it's just my spot. So,
man, you are truly a Myrtle Beach guy.
I am a Myrtle Beach man.
I mean, there's a lot of people, but you're born and raised, ingrained in the community.
Myrtle Beach is a community that cares.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that from personal experience, Autry. You know, about 10, 12 years ago, I got real sick. I mean, real sick, kind of, you know, make sure your life insurance is all caught up and making funeral type plans sick. It was pretty rough. But the people of Myrtle Beach, people in the church, people in the community, they just rally around me. And just, it was really refreshing and just uplifting to know that even when things, or I'm not at my best, that there's a community here that can lift you up. And I really appreciated that.
Case, probably most people don't know that. I mean, can you share any more about that time period, if you don't mind? I mean, certainly at your level, man.
It was a weird situation. My son was born September 2013, and I wasn't big on flu vaccines, never have been. But supposedly the flu was really bad that year, Autry, so I went and got a flu shot. And about 4 or 5 months later, I started having numbness in my hands and then numbness in my feet. And I went through all kinds of tests. I mean, throw out the kitchen sink. I mean, hop on one foot, slap your face. You know, I mean, just kind of crazy things because couldn't figure out what was going on. The big scare was MS, but I avoided that. And then there was a slightly known, lesser known, more known now syndrome called Guillain-Barré or Guillain-Barré, where it attacks it's autoimmune and it attacks your nerve cells and shuts you down from the inside out. And fortunately, I caught it quick enough. Mm-hmm. But there was a lot of my life there that just wouldn't happen that I don't particularly remember because I was in and out of therapy. Mm-hmm. I was told I was going to have trouble walking again. But through the good Lord and perseverance and prayer and community, here I am.
Amen, brother. Amen.
There are some other things that led to some other things after that as well, but those are other stories for other times.
I got you. I understand. So, graduated Myrtle Beach.
Beach.
You know, you're an attorney now. Did you know you wanted to go into the law?
So, I fancied myself a little bit of a singer.
What?
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
So, here you go. First, I had my freshman year at Wofford College.
Yeah.
And then I took 2 years off to try to be an actor and a singer.
Okay.
I didn't know.
I'm learning things right now.
Here we go. I didn't know that there was an audition for Wedding Crashers, or I would have tried out for Bradley Cooper's part.
You'd have probably got it.
Well, I mean, you know, afterwards, I really wish I had known because I had a lot more money and, you know, but it didn't pan out.
Yeah.
And there's some funny stories in that little experience too. But I'll remember I was
folks come back for these stories.
it might be important too.
Yeah.
There was I was deveining shrimp at a restaurant, and I was like, this is not where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's odd when those kind of moments hit you,
Yeah.
where you might be. And I quit that night and decided to rededicate myself to my education and being what I needed to be. And at that point, I felt as attorney was the right thing to do. But I had to get through those next years of school too. So I graduated in 4 years, just not in a row. They refer to my time at Wofford as the Case Brittain era.
I got you.
You know, so, but after that, took a year off, went part of the first graduating class of Charleston School of Law.
Oh, wow. Great school. My daughter's down there now. So.
Oh, it was just amazing spot. Professors that really cared. Of course, being part of that first class, it was pretty interesting and scary because if you didn't get accreditation, then you might have a law degree, but it might not be worth anything. So that was a chance, but a chance worth taking. And I really enjoyed it. And then after that,
Law school tough?
Law school's always tough. You better like reading. That's all.
Yeah.
If you don't read and if you just think it's like any other class, that's typically not the way it works.
1L's boot camp, right? It's
1L boot camp.
My daughter's going through it now.
It progressively should get easier. You get more knowledge about what's going on.
Yeah.
And you can rely on that, but you got to build that foundation.
Yeah.
And just like like Peter, man, that foundation's got to be solid.
Yeah.
Because you can't build anything on a flaky foundation.
Yeah, I got
Kind of
you.
like concrete.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So graduating and then go to work.
I clerked for Judge Birch out of Pageland, South Carolina.
Okay.
Now, they in Pageland, and I love them so much. They are like a second family up there.
Yeah.
But a city boy in the country, they had a good time with that.
Yeah.
They may have pulled some pranks on me when I was hunting with them,
Yeah.
like put a fake deer in the yoke of a tree, thinking I'd shoot at it, but I'm a little smarter than that.
Smarter than that. It's your first rodeo.
I know they got to breathe and they're probably going to move a little bit, but I enjoy Pageland up there in Chesterfield County. Judge Birch is a great judge. Learned a lot under him, and then finally to work.
I got you.
Went to work at Hearn, Brittain, and Martin. And of course, that's my father, Tommy Brittain, but also George Hearn, fantastic attorney. Morgan Martin, another fantastic attorney. So that started off my legal career, and then we kind of broke up after all the kids started getting involved in trying to become attorneys as well.
Yeah.
It just made sense for us to kind of each be our own entity, but we still love each other so much and help each other out any way we can.
Man, it had to be pretty cool coming into that profession around three mega, very smart attorneys. I mean, certainly you knew your dad, those other guys. Tell me about that. What's some lessons you learned from those guys?
George Hearn taught me that every minute something could be done. And whether I want to do something every minute or not is up to me. And when you're a young attorney and an older gentleman, very seasoned attorney, tells you that, in the back of your mind, you think, I need to be doing more. So he gave me a better work drive, which is very, very important, especially in the legal career. Make sure you don't miss the deadlines. Make sure you call your clients back. My father was always there growing up, so I've always heard all the stories, some tricks of the trade, that kind of fun stuff. And how can you leave the silver fox, Morgan Martin?
Yeah.
I mean, he's my man. He's a good buddy of mine. I've always enjoyed him. He's got just different ways of connecting with people that pick up on some of that too.
Yeah. So what separates him up, from others?
There are certain people, Autry, and I'm sure you've run into them in your life, that no matter when you see them or how you get them, they're dialed in for you, right? Especially if you're coming to them in need. And they're genuine about it. They don't feel like it's some kind of boilerplate thing where you just say, oh, I'm going to go talk to Morgan Martin, and he just goes, okay, Autry Benton, you did this, you did that, you did this. And getting to know you, to figure out how you tick, it's a really big part of the puzzle, and he's been really good at that for so many years. And we don't always get the pick of the litter for the cases, especially in criminal defense and sometimes in our plaintiff's work as well. But we try to do our best by whoever we happen to be representing. And Morgan and my father and George, if there's one thing that they instilled in us, it's no matter what side of the law you're on, that side deserves to tell its story. Whether it's the prosecution, of course, they represent the state or the city or the county, whichever hat they happen to be wearing. And they represent the state. and the state has its say, and so does the individual citizen as well.
Having a good law system is a core of America, right? I mean, that's what makes America special.
That's right, justice.
Justice, yeah.
Justice.
So, wow, that's interesting. And your dad's really good in the courtroom. I mean, would you say that's one of his best attributes?
My dad is, he's the only man that I remember seeing. We had a plea. It was very it wasn't a big deal. All the facts of the case were, kind of sensitive, but the plea itself wasn't. It was commotion all over the place. And when he stood up, you could hear a pin drop. And that's a presence that he has in a courtroom. And when he speaks, and when he's on his A game, and I very rarely see him off of it.
Yeah.
It's something to behold.
Wow, that's special, man. That's special. Well, good. So bring me up in your personal life at this point. Are you married? Where'd you meet your wife?
Married.
Yeah, tell me about your wife.
Lovely wife, Yvonne Marie Brittain. She works at Nelson Mullins. She is now the paralegal coordinator. She's been a paralegal there. She's worked at Nelson Mullins here in Myrtle Beach since she was 18.
Oh, wow.
So she's very committed, very knowledgeable, very, very smart. Much smarter than I am, especially in the real estate type stuff. I mean, those are two different brain types. She's more of a type A. I'm more of a type A minus, B plus. I like things to be in a certain order, but I'm probably okay if it gets out of order for a second or two, right?
Right.
But lovely woman, gave me two of the best gifts of my entire life, and I'll be my best not to get choked up. But my daughter and my son, they're
special.
Yeah, being a father.
Yeah.
There's something special about having kids, and especially the wife that brought you those joys. Something special with that too.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, so she's a great woman.
Where'd y'all meet at?
Oh, now that story. So we actually met before we met the second time. We met out and did not jive very well. It was kind of a, hey, let's meet up. Two people thought we'd kind of hit it off. They, I guess, eventually were right, but at the time
timing weren't right.
Timing wasn't right.
Yeah.
And timing's always a funny thing.
Yeah.
When I came back from Judge Birch's from Pageland, we kind of ran into each other again. And first concert we went to was, oh gosh, she's gonna kill me. It was at House of Blues.
Yeah.
She had on this little pink frou-frou sweater.
You were just concentrating on her. Yeah, you were just concentrating on her that night.
It was hard to pay attention to anything else.
There you go.
So, and ever since then, we've been in lockstep.
That's good. So what's some marriage advice you can give our listeners today that you've learned from marriage and you wouldn't give?
Just love.
Love?
Okay. I mean, if you're going to get married, love that person.
Yeah.
For all. Mm-hmm. I mean, that means the good and the bad. And a lot of things, I think nowadays, the way we talk, the words, they seem empty. They shouldn't. Words carry weight. Mm-hmm. When you say I do, it's something that's serious. Mm-hmm. You're doing it there with God. Mm-hmm. If you love that person, you're ready to make that kind of commitment. You should be ready to make that kind of commitment for the rest of your life too.
That's good.
And look, that's not to say that bad things don't happen or situations don't change, but talk to your partner about it. Mm-hmm. Communication's key.
Yeah,
it's key in a lot of things.
And I think you just shared, you walked through a tough season and your wife was right there beside you, man. I mean, those are things you're talking about. I mean, the good and bad, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, how about some advice for parenting?
Hold on.
I like that one. Yes.
Hold on. Buckle up. I mean, each their own. It's a weird thing, parenting is. My wife and I are very distinctly different about just our personalities. I'm a little more laid back, carefree, but serious when I need to be. Encouragement for me is the way I like to parent. And it doesn't mean that they just get to have free reign.
Right.
But a perfect example, my son yesterday, we were at a swim meet in North Charleston. We were always at swim meets, it feels like. He had what they call 100 individual medley, which is 25 meters of each stroke. Mm-hmm. Butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, and then freestyle. He dropped 3.5 seconds off of his fastest time.
Wow.
Made it to the finals for that evening. I told him before he went to the finals, son, you dropped 3.5 seconds on a race that you've done since you were 8 years old. That doesn't happen this late, you know. So if you don't, at finals, if you can't get to that same time, I'm not worried about it, man. I'm so proud of you. You've done such an amazing job. And I'm trying not to get choked up. But the little punk that went out there and won the daggone thing and dropped another 1.5 seconds.
That's great.
So those things, instead of focusing on where there could have been some improvements,
Yeah.
let's lift up what he's been able to accomplish. That's what kids want. That's what they need. They need structure.
Yeah.
They need the 3 R's, which always drove me nuts because it's reading, writing, and arithmetic, which only as far as I know, only one of those start actually with an R. But they need to know that they're doing good.
Yeah.
They need to know that even when they struggle, that if they're struggling and they're trying, that effort is worth something. I'm not saying they get a participation trophy. I'm not so big on those.
Yeah.
But they definitely need to be encouraged.
Yeah. That's true. That's so true. So tell us about what pushed you into public life, public service life.
So being a young attorney, then got sick. And like I said, there were a couple of other fun things with that sickness that came along that kind of prolonged some things. Attorneys get kind of known within the first 5-7 years. It's really where you start making your money. Well, I kind of missed out on that. So when I came back, my father asked me, what is it that you really feel like you're comfortable with? And I said, comfort's got nothing to do with it, but I'm tired of not doing more. There's so many things that came out of that sickness. One of the things that came out of it, honestly, in the end, was humility. I'll never forget I was upset because I couldn't. There was a lot of problems, but there was one particular problem that really drove me nuts, and it was I was having a difficulty getting in and out of places. The walking still wasn't 100%, and so it was kind of weird. My feet would slide. I ended up tripping one time, busted my knee wide open.
So sorry.
Pain, but I was frustrated at that point, really frustrated. And the next thing I am, I'm going into the grocery store. All right, was it a grocery store? Convenience store, excuse me.
Yeah.
And there's a guy sitting there, doesn't have any legs, asking just for $1. Now, we all have our own little inclinations about homeless, whether we need them around, and no one needs homeless people around. We don't hope anyone's homeless or anything like that. But at that moment, I just said, thank you, God, for teaching me humility. Here I am complaining about busting my knee, but I'm walking around. And that guy, he ain't walking on nothing.
Wow.
So it's those little types of moments that really have pushed me into service.
Wow.
I can't be there for everyone as much as I'd like to be. And I'm not going to spend your money. I'll spend mine on something like that. That's something big for me. But if I can find a way to help those people in a way that doesn't cost anyone in this state a penny, that's my duty.
Yeah.
My duty is to help.
Wow.
In any shape, manner, or form.
Yeah. So just coming out of that sickness, God put a lot of dreams, and you want to give back.
It's just giving.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny because I never broke a finger, nothing, not one thing.
Yeah.
And then this sickness thing, the Guillain-Barré happened, and how the community surrounded me, doctors, friends, people I hadn't heard of in years, calling me. I had a friend come by from Charleston, sit in my house, and just have lunch with me for an hour.
Wow.
When you get that kind of feeling, you get that kind of love, you get that kind of help, you feel like you better give some back.
Yeah.
And I'll do that until they put me in the grave.
That's right. So your first step was to run for the House of Representatives?
So when Dad asked me that, he at the time, Representative Clemens was looked like he was trying to wind up his career.
Yeah.
Nothing. He hadn't said anything. So I went to Alan and asked him, and I said, I'm thinking about running for your seat. I feel like you might be trying to. And to his credit, he said, if you just give me one more term, that'd be great. And nothing against Alan. He is a dear friend of mine, and I couldn't have done half the stuff I've done without him. But I decided to go ahead and take a chance. I lost by, I think, 872 votes, which was a little disheartening. Lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, he felt like he wanted to resign. That there was another opportunity for him. And here we are.
That's good. That's good.
Here we are.
Well, I mean, I've won elections, lost elections, but I think if the desire that serves in there, wins or losses, you're going to find a way to serve.
That's right.
I think, and like you just said, even though I think people say we don't run against people, we run to serve in the position. We shouldn't make it personal. We just want to serve. And
that's right.
So anyway, giving back.
That's right.
So tell us about serving the House of Representatives. What's some things you've been able to do for our area? What have you enjoyed the most?
I'll tell you, the last thing that the last bill that I got passed, I'm very excited about. I know that it's in the Senate right now. Is our HALO Act, which basically, in short, helps our first responders and medical care providers, making sure that they have a buffer zone around them if they're in an emergency situation, making sure that they have the area they need to get their lawful duties done. It says, look, hey, back up. You got to be an audible warning. Say, I'm trying to do something here. I need space to do what I'm supposed to do. I need space. I need you to back up now. And if the person keeps trying to interfere with that officer or medical care provider, knowingly and intentionally, they could be fined with a misdemeanor and $500 and up to 30 days in jail. But I'll tell you what I said, Autry, when I took the weld. I explained it, and what I said was, I can't believe that we have to have a bill for this, that we got to write a law for this. When I was growing up, when you were growing up, an officer said, step back. Guess what you did? You stepped back. If a firefighter said, son, clear the area, you got out of there. You didn't have to have another person tell you that, right? And I was kind of shocked that we have to have some kind of law about it.
Yeah.
But if our first responders and our medical care providers and that whole lot feel like they needed it, daggone right, I was going to be there fighting for that.
Yeah. Wow. Gosh, no, they're the best of us, aren't they, Case?
I mean, I'll tell you, they go into places that you and I wouldn't think about going into.
Yeah.
When they put their boots on in the morning, they don't know if that's the last time.
Yeah. Well, thank you
That's
for care.
insane.
Thank you for taking care for them.
Always.
I hope there wasn't any opposition on that bill. I couldn't imagine.
There was a little bit of pushback on some of. There were some nuances to the. Is 25 feet? Is that too much? Is it too little? That kind of up to interpretation of how you're going to delineate 25 feet right off the bat. There was a reason for that. It was so that it could be constitutionally sound, so it wasn't too vague.
Yeah.
If it ends up being 25 feet or something different, if the Senate changes it a little bit, we'll talk about that. But for the most part, no one was against the first responders in that building.
Yeah. So this just takes care of somebody who thinks, I can't imagine like you, that they're not doing what they're supposed to, just interfering with a first responder. I mean,
it would be, let's say, you get up on the side of the road, there's been an accident, and somehow a mob starting to form.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody's drunk, whatever it is on the side of the road, or in a hospital if somebody's code blue, and somebody's trying to stop somebody, and they say, "Look, you got to back up here."
I got you.
And I do foresee there being maybe some exceptions in there if if a family member is getting ready to pass, or an emergency situation where you're not exactly sure what's going to happen to your family member. But we'll see what happens there.
That's good. Our time is going quickly, so you got to come back.
What?
Really soon, yeah. It's getting away quickly. So tell us some other things in South Carolina that make you optimistic, that you'd like to see happen in South Carolina.
Oh, man.
I know it's a big question, but to give you some leeway, So
I think, we already see that South Carolina is the number one place to come here and move.
Yeah.
I don't imagine that slowing down.
Yeah.
So we do want to make sure that we put the guardrails up and make sure that our infrastructure is sound here, right? That's something that has to happen. And that's a continuing process. We're always going to be moving, shaking, making sure infrastructure is where it needs to be in place. But I feel like South Carolina, as great as we are, and we have been, I believe, amazing, we're getting ready to go into a chapter that's going to be even better.
That's good.
And I'm really, really excited about that.
That's awesome.
I really am. And so, you know, I've gotten to go around the state a good bit since last couple of years here, and they're great everywhere. They're great here, but they're good everywhere. And South Carolina is special in that regard.
Yeah, it's a special place in a case.
I mean, I tell you, you know, it's I think we got the best flag, bar none.
Oh, we got.
I mean, bar none. And the people. I mean, we're a handshake state because you can trust a person in South Carolina. I mean, when's the last time you've gone to New York City and thought, oh, that guy's pretty easygoing. I'll just shake his hand. I'm sure everything's on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just different here.
Yeah, it is.
And I like that.
I do too.
And I don't mind it that way.
Yeah.
You know, people will say good old boy system, stuff like that. I don't really buy into the good old boy system so much anymore. I think that maybe a good old boy system gets somebody's foot in the door, but you got to walk through that thing, man.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you be out.
Yeah.
And so South Carolina, it's a smiling faces, beautiful places is one thing, but it needs to be more on the community. The people here are just some kind of amazing.
Yeah. You know, and we have a lot of people moving here, which I think says a couple things. Number one, this is a great place. And I find that, you know, you know, whether you're born here or you moved here, I love everybody. This is our area. This is America. But I think they take on our personality sometimes too. You know, they love it and make our state great as well.
You know, people get upset about everyone moving down here, and I get that to a point.
Yeah.
Crowded, the roads get more crowded. That's understandable. But man, there's some great people, and they just happen to come here because they want to be like us, or at least be in an area that can give them a chance to see what it's like to be a South Carolinian.
Yeah.
Because it is special.
Once they dip their toes in that salt water, it's hard to leave, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. One last question. We finish up.
Yeah, man.
Are you optimistic for Myrtle Beach? Just best days are ahead.
Again, I'll harken back to what I said. I think that Myrtle Beach, Horry County, and the state of South Carolina are on the edge of greatness.
That's great.
They're already there. I think we're just going to add more to the story. I think Myrtle Beach, honestly, is on the edge of a renaissance to bring back exactly the stuff that you and I remember Myrtle Beach being about, which is family, fun, good times, and of course down there on the beach, good relaxation as well.
That's good. Thank you so much for joining us.
Autry, always a pleasure,
Enjoyed
my
it.
friend.
Good. Friends, we learned a lot, and a true South Carolinian with us today. Love where you live. South Carolina is a beautiful place. We love where we live, and our best days are ahead. Join us next time, friends.